In those days, the 8th graders used to sell protection to the 5th graders, not to steal their lunches. It cost them 25 cents a week. Everybody played 16-inch softball. The team that I played on, the juvenile officer was the manager. And our rival team in the neighborhood was sponsored by the bail bondsman, since they gave him so much work. My dad was a part-time bookie, and you would be surprised how much parochial school tuition you can pay for 6 kids on the bad bets of other people. So in the neighborhood there was this social strata, and at the very, very, very top were the people that could straddle the good and the bad. You know, the force and the dark side. And one of those guys was my best friend, John. John was 15. He was already a wise guy in training. John had connections. John had associates. John was the guy that when you went to the racetrack, my dad and I went many, many times, you would always take John. Because John would pick horses that you would look at the form and you'd say, this horse would never win, and the horse would come in first and you'd say, John, how did you pick this horse? He'd get this sly grin on his face, he'd wink and chuckle, and then go collect his money. So John lived at home with his mother. He was 15, he always had a cigar in his mouth, he always had a cabbie cap on. I can tell you that he never smoked a cigar in his mother's house. She'd have slapped him silly. 4 foot tall. I think she was the only person that John was really afraid of. And John's sitting at the kitchen table. He's looking through the Chicago American, and the phone rings. And it's one of his associates, Cleto. And Cleto says, Johnny, I got a sure thing for you in the 7th at Calder. Blue Nose to win. And John says, sure thing? What do you mean, a sure thing? Johnny, don't ask me no questions. Just do it. So John gets all the money that he can get together in the house. He borrows money from his mother. And he goes down to the local bookie, not my father. And he puts all the money down on Blue Nose to win in the 7th at Calder. And while he's there, he's looking at the racing form. And this horse has never even seen the finish line, much less won a race. And the horse is going off at 75 to 1. So he figures, ha, cha, 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 cha. Here we go. So he goes home, goes back to sitting at the kitchen table with a cigar in his mouth and his cap on. And it gets to be about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And he knows that Calder's in Miami and that it's 4 o'clock there, and that race would have already been run. So he calls up the bookie to see, you know, how much he's won. So he gets on the phone and he says, you know, can you give me the results, 7th at Calder? And the bookie says, well, yeah, your underpants was first, and Coliseum was second, and your mama was third. He said, well, what about Blue Nose? I don't know, I just got the 3 race results. Win, play, show, I don't see Blue Nose at all. So he slams down the phone, picks it up, dials Cleto right away, and needless to say, Cleto's not answering the phone. In those days, there used to be an out-of-town newspaper stand at Randolph and State. And so the next morning, John gets up, jumps on the L, goes downtown, runs to the out-of-town newsstand, gives the guy 75 cents for the Miami Herald, takes the front of the newspaper, throws it away, takes the sports section, race results, Calder, 7th race, Blue Nose. Breaks from the gate, first. Half-mile pole, first, 2 lengths. At the mile, first, 4 lengths. In the stretch, he's in first by 6 lengths. And then it says, HA. HA? HA? What the hell does HA mean? Looks down at the bottom of the page. The horse had a heart attack. So while Blue Nose is recovering in the equine hospital, John is trying to find Cleto in the alleys and byways in the neighborhood, and Cleto's not to be found. He finally catches up with them 2 weeks later, and Cleto tells him that they've been a victim of a misunderstanding. Well, the stewards found that Blue Nose was a victim of too much butazolidine. But my father and I knew the real reason. Everybody involved had been a victim of the fact that there ain't no such thing as a sure thing. Thank you.